ambitions and capabilities were a little bit out of whack, and never got the opportunity to do it.
I'd like to give a big shout out to the Hoodoo Gurus, who have given us permission to use part of their song, That's My Team, as our new podcast episode intro for all of their music. And whenever they are going live or performing live, head to their Facebook and their Instagram. The links will be in the description below. Be sure to give them a like and a follow as well on Facebook and Instagram.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Final Tackle podcast, and we're actually joined by a special guest. He's an NRL referee. He's actually one of 5 to get over 300 games under his belt, and he also referees alongside his wife every now and then. His name is Gavin Badger. Thanks very much for joining us here today.
Hey mate, how are you?
Yeah, no, I'm good, and honestly chuffed because, as I said just before to you, you're one of my favourite referees, and a lot of the commentary crew for the podcast, they love your refereeing as well. So let's get started. Your refereeing debut, what was that like for you?
It was awesome. Like anyone involved in anything at any level, you want to get to a point where you can be the best you can be, and reach the top of whatever you want to do, whether it be sport, whether it be work, whatever. And as someone who wanted to referee at the highest level, takes a long time. It's a long process to get from refereeing park footy to refereeing in the NRL, and it's a lot of hard work and a lot of effort, and a lot of work to get there. So it was a great feeling.
Honestly, that's amazing. Now, you're a beloved fan of the Kansas City Chiefs. They won the Super Bowl for the first time in 50 years this year. What was it like for you as a fan? And do you think you'd like to give it a crack at refereeing the NFL or, some sort of gridiron sort of sport?
That'd be all. I actually, we'll speak about the Chiefs first. I've been a fan for a while. I actually got put onto the Chiefs because of my wife. She was a Chiefs fan before I was, so when we first met, I followed the NFL. I liked the game, but I never really had a team because you don't have that personal connection with any team.
Yep.
And Casey was a Kansas City Chiefs fan, so jumped on board, and 13 years later we get to see him win a championship. We've been lucky enough a couple of times to go across to Arrowhead Stadium, which is, has
mate,
the world
goosebumps.
The loudest stadium in the world, so 72.4 decibels it was, and so being there a couple of times was outstanding. We actually went this year as well, so we went to Chiefs versus the Packers.
Oh, mate, I'm a Packers fan.
Packers beat us that night. We had no Patrick Mahomes. He got injured the week before in Denver.
We went
to that game in Denver as well, so we were there to watch Patrick Mahomes get injured. We watched the game against the Packers, and then we got to watch throughout the postseason and the Chiefs in Miami.
Awesome. Like with yourself, your goal and dream was obviously to go to Arrowhead Stadium. Mine is to go to Lambeau Field. What's it like to actually witness an NFL game live?
Outstanding. So the first game I ever went to, Casey and I went to New York for our honeymoon in 2010, and we were lucky enough to go. We went to New York, so we went to MetLife Stadium and we watched Patriots versus the Giants there.
Okay, yep.
And we were hooked on live NFL then. It just hooked us. So
it's like next level from what I've been told.
It's a great game to watch live. The atmosphere and the crowd is insane. So we try every year to get across to games, and we've been fortunate enough to see the Chiefs play at Arrowhead probably 4 or 5 times, and we've seen them play in Denver. We've seen them play in Texas. We went and watched in Houston. We went and watched them play Houston, who, although I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan, one of my favourite players in the NFL is JJ Watts.
Yep.
I just love watching JJ play, and we got to watch JJ play. Although when we went to watch him play, he got injured pretty early in the game as well. So we don't have good luck with that stuff.
That's
but fair. We look at we're at a point now where at the end of the season holidays we have 6 weeks off as referees. So in that 6 weeks we generally try and travel across the states for 3 weeks, and we'll wait to put the holidays till the Chiefs schedule comes out, and we try and follow the Chiefs around.
Yeah, wow, honestly, that's so awesome. And obviously you were over in America when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. That's just based off your Instagram. I think you're at Arrowhead Stadium or something similar to how the NRL fans go to their local leagues club for their team.
No, that was just an old post. There's a bit of a story on that because Ashley Klein, who's also another NFL referee, he's a massive Kansas City Chiefs fan.
Oh, he's a Chiefs fan, is he? Okay.
Yeah, so we were looking at trying to organise a trip to go up. We want to go to the Super Bowl. conflicts a bit with our training schedules and stuff. So we were trying to work out how we could get there, and we looked at a trip where we could virtually fly in, spend the night in a hire car, jump to the game, jump straight back home to try and get back for training. But logistics of it didn't work out. But I remember we had organised for our day for training to have the middle of the day off, and then we trained later in the day so we could sit down together in the office and watch the Super Bowl. So,
Yeah, no,
I'll sit in ANZ Stadium watching the Super Bowl.
oh mate, that's amazing. I was at Panthers Leagues Club in their cinema room, and I was watching the Super Bowl. As I said, I'm not a fan of the Chiefs. So as I said, I'm a fan of the Packers, but I was rooting for the Chiefs that day. And to see, obviously, as I'm sure you saw, the scoreline go how it went, and then the fourth quarter, boom, Mahomes is where it was at. Now, switching topics for a little bit. Your childhood and grassroots, what was it like growing up? As everyone covered last week, really with the Indigenous round, you yourself found out you were Indigenous as a teenager. What was that like, and how did that help shape the person you are today?
It's a pretty unique, and it's actually not that unique, because I've spoken to a couple of guys. Well, Wade Graham for the Cronulla Sharks has a similar story to mine, where he found out about his culture a little bit later through a bit of luck and stuff as well.
Yeah, so, through passing sort of thing.
I grew up in the inner city, so I grew up around Redfern and Waterloo. So I grew up around a lot of Aboriginal people, and I tended throughout my whole childhood and throughout to gravitate towards those people. So there was obviously a connection there that I didn't know about. And all my friends and the footy club that I played at, the school that I went to, was a high Indigenous rate, people there. So,
which, if you don't mind me asking, which tribe is your heritage from?
Okay, so Dunghutti, which is
Dunghutti,
so Kempsey and stuff.
Yep.
Is where I've sort of traced a little bit. I don't know a lot about my family background. There's a lot of Indigenous people that are in a similar boat when it comes to stolen generation and stuff like that. Although
for sure. But you've traced it back to at least the Dunghutti mob.
Yeah, but there is some connection there with the Cook side of my father's side. So yeah, there's a connection there, and there's a connection with. I grew up and raised in Gadigal land, which is Sydney Basin, the inner city. So growing up around Redfern and Waterloo, footy was everything. Everyone played footy. I started playing when I was 3 years old.
Oh wow!
Started with the Zetland Magpies in the South Sydney district.
Yep.
Played my footy there, and then finished up playing footy at the Alexandria Rovers. So two inner city strong clubs with strong Indigenous ties. So always, wanted to play first grade rugby league. Thought that that would be the ultimate to do, but to do that you've got to be good at it. And I didn't know. Unfortunately, ambitions and capabilities were a little bit out of whack, and never got the opportunity to play at any high level. So,
but hey, you got there with refereeing.
Footy's in the blood. Rugby league is in the blood, and it was fortunate enough to eventually get on to be able to have what I think is the second best job in the world,
which is refereeing.
Run around on a footy field and not wake up Monday morning sore.
Honestly, that's great. Now, round 25, 2011, the Battle of Brookvale. You were a secondary ref on the field. Obviously, it's go down in history for that game. What was it like for you? How was it like handling the game in particular and everything in between?
Yeah, that is a weird situation to be in as a referee, because at that level of the game, we don't get that often. Very rarely do you see.
I think we've seen it once since with the send-off, and that was this year.
Very rarely do you see players, especially players that have been sent from the field, get into it, and then you have benches and stuff that are in close proximity. I had plenty of that growing up refereeing in the Stockton district.
Yep.
Many times where I had to deal with that, so maybe that then enabled me to be able to handle this situation. But yeah, it was unique because it was so far away from us, and I just caught it out the corner of our eye, because I think it was Glenn Stewart and Adam Blair.
It was, yep, and they got into it as they were walking off, Yeah,
and so they we were down on the goal line at the at one end of Brookvale Oval, and out of the corner of my eye, I just happened to see a commotion near the tunnel, so I sort of just ran over there, not even thinking, and then all of a sudden I'm in the midst of it. And I remember George Rose, who was on the bench for Manly at the time, sort of going past me. So in my thought is he's come off the bench. I just remember yelling, "George, don't get involved, because if you get involved off the bench, you're in some serious trouble." And I remember George just looking at me, and I remember Pope after the game, George coming to me and saying, "Thanks for that, you probably saved me," because he was just going to go in and start grabbing players, but all of a sudden he's come off the bench onto the field and can create himself some dramas. It was quite an experience, and it gets replayed a fair bit, so it's down in rugby league folklore.
Yeah, well, for sure. That's why I thought I'd ask, a ref that was there on the day. It's amazing to hear it from your side of things. One of the commentary crew, James from the podcast crew, he asks, what's the most difficult game that you've ever had to referee? That can be at any level. I'm guessing it's Battle of Brookvale, but it could be a different game.
Oh, coming through refereeing A-grade football before anywhere near the NRL is the hardest football I've ever had to referee.
Oh, wow, okay. And why?
You have players that aren't overly concerned about consequences. So if players, just want to run amok, there's very little. The worst that's going to happen to them is they get suspended, and there's no consequence to that. It's not like that's how they earn their living or anything like that. So having to deal with different personalities, different standard of footballers at that level, and being able to have the personality to interact and try and win players over, you've got to deal with different personalities differently. Is the hardest part of your refereeing career. And not only is it the hardest part because of how hard it is, but it's also the least rewarding part of it, because a lot of times it's the sixth or seventh game you've done on a Sunday afternoon, it's pouring down raining, all your friends are out the night before, and you didn't get to go out the night before, so you're a little bit dirty on that.
And the next day is the Monday you wake up sore because of so many games refereed that day.
And then you go to work, and then through winter, as a young referee coming through, you virtually don't have weekends. So that's the hardest part, and it's getting through that. And then there's so many referees, quit at that level that have talent or ability, but there's time constraints, or the fact that they've got to deal with those footballers that don't really care, and the abuse that you cop and stuff like that. So that, I think about my NRL career, and there's not too many. It's difficult as it is to referee and officiate at that level. It seems, so
it's a walk in the park sort of thing, yeah.
Definitely. I actually go and watch a lot of park football, and I look at it and I think, I don't know if I could handle that now.
Oh, wow.
Park footy game. And it was much easier.
Oh, wow, far out. So anyone who's listening, you heard it here first. NRL first grade is easier. Well, not easier, but much more manageable than A grade. And talking of player management and all that, obviously that's something you definitely have to deal with on the field. Who are some standout constant whingers? And they can be retired. Honestly, let's go with retired for the sake of the NRL. And who are the top three... sorry, I have this listed. Sorry, I'll go through... Yeah, so who are the top three retired players that were the worst milkers? And who are the top three retired players that were the worst complainers during your time?
I could probably put one player into both categories.
Okay.
And one of the nicest players you'd ever meet, and such a lovely guy. But we had a nickname for him in the referees when he was playing, and it was the wolf in sheep's clothing, was Stephen Price.
Oh, okay.
So he would whinge and complain about everything and come at you for everything, and he was almost apologetic when he came sometimes, but he would continually come, and it was just like, Steve, not again.
Yeah.
And he was never out of order. He was never
no. Yeah.
You just knew if you refereed the Warriors, especially when he was at the Warriors, when Pricey was playing, be prepared to answer a lot of questions. I think a big part of the rules that we have now are due to Stephen Price, where there's only certain times where captains can come and approach referees. Because I reckon Pricey was coming a lot of times to just to slow the game down and give his players a rest more than wanting to receive answers from us.
Okay.
So he's probably the one that stands out the most to me. But like I say, I feel bad for saying it because he's such a lovely guy. Yeah,
he's a lovely guy for sure. And who would the other two be in that sort of category?
It's hard. Everyone always says when you look at players like that, and the first person, especially when you talk about who were the hardest to deal with, and everyone always, and I've mentioned this a few times in different interviews and podcasts that I've been on, is Michael Ennis. Like, everyone talks about Michael Ennis, but I loved refereeing Michael Ennis because he kept me on my toes. He
kept you accountable, sort of thing.
And very intelligent. So when he came, you knew, he was coming educated in what he was saying.
Yeah, okay.
But you knew you had to give the right answer. So, it kept you on your toes, and you knew going in that if you're refereeing the Bulldogs and there's a decision, Michael Ennis is going to ask you why, how, he's going to ask all the details. So, you had to be on your toes in how you answered it, because if you answered in the wrong way or whatever, he'd come back with
what about this and how about wow.
Yeah,
okay.
So, and I really enjoyed that, and to me it made me better.
Yeah.
Because players like that make you a better official, because you're going overly prepared. It's not like we don't go in prepared anyway, but when Mick was out there, such an intelligent footballer, and it was actually a pleasure for me to referee him.
Honestly, that's so great. And speaking of challenges, the captain's challenge is now a thing as of this year. How is it going for you, personally, as a referee?
Yeah, I don't mind it. We trialled it a few years ago in the under 20s competition. Had there was uh, little things that needed to be ironed out in that. I think we're sort of at a pretty good spot with it now. With everything that we do in the NRL, the coaches and the players are so good and so professional that they'll find ways to use it to their advantage.
Oh, they will.
I've got no doubt at some stage that teams will use it tactically and stuff like that once they get better knowledge around it and how they can utilize that. But at the moment, I think it's added something to the game because as referees, the last thing we want to do is make a decision that has an impact on the game that is incorrect.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Any opportunity for us to be correct, like people talk about, does it make you feel embarrassed if you get something wrong or whatever? It doesn't, because I can guarantee you we're going to get things wrong in a game of rugby league. We are not perfect, and the game won't allow us to be. It's too hard. Well, you look at the best players in the world.
Exactly. Whereas this captain's challenge enables you guys to get a call right, even though you technically got it wrong. It can help fix things, sort of patch things up that may have been a wrong call, sort of thing.
Well, there are some decisions in the game that are near impossible for us to get correct, depending on angles and you've got the one I look at the most is contest for the ball, so kick contest, and you might have 4 players jumping for a bomb, and there's 8 hands all in there, and one of those hits the ball.
Yeah.
Which one's hit it? So we take educated guesses based on indicators, which we train for. But to me, I think the amount of times we get those right shows how professional and how well we do our job.
For sure.
But for the couple of times we get them wrong, which are pretty big calls because of field position and stuff like that, but a team has the ability to then say, you know what, we think you got that wrong. Let's fix it. I'm all for that.
Honestly, agreed. I'm loving it, and I'm loving the 6 again. How are you going with that, and how did you train for that in the COVID break? Because you guys would have found out to some extent that we're bringing the 6 again in, and now you got to practice that. How did you go with that?
Yeah, so in the honesty department, I didn't think it would work before we started it.
Okay.
Plenty of factors around it. I just thought teams would manipulate it. I was looking at
players would milk it, sort of thing.
Or if the team was coming off their own goal line, like why wouldn't you have why wouldn't you take the risk because they can't keep the touch, so they're still going to have to work it. But as a footy fan, when I watch the game, I love it. I think it's
I love it.
The game, and we talk about fatigue factors and stuff like that, but even take that away, I think just the continuity of the game, and I think the reason why our game is so good is because of continuity, and we try and allow the game to play as much as we can.
Yep.
I think the 6 to go has added a lot to our game.
It's added more flow. It's added a lot more pace and speed to it.
Yeah, and like anything, it'll evolve, and we may need to tweak things here and there, or take things out of it that we already allow for 6 more, add things. It'll work out over time, like most things we do in rugby league. Training for it was very difficult because when it was coming in and when COVID first hit before we came back, we weren't training together as a squad.
Yeah,
we were separated. So it made it really hard to get together as a group and sort of nut out the things that we needed to do. But through Zoom meetings and stuff like that, and like I said, there's the amount of knowledge and skill in the group of referees that we have allowed us to get together and sort of go out there, and for a group of people that have never tried it, and also one resource now because we went from 2 referees to 1 referee.
I was going to say, how are you handling that? Because you started reffing as 1 ref. And then they brought in the 2 ref system, and now they've re-implemented 1 ref. How did you go from making the change back to 1 ref?
Yeah, well, I think the product on the field proves how professional as a group we are, because no one's talking about how it took a while for us to adapt, because from round 3, which was game 1 after the COVID break, it went seamless, and everyone was talking about how good the footy was. But when people are talking about how good the footy is, no one's talking about referees.
Well, it's a reflection on the referees, is what it is.
Well, then you've got to say that the referees are having some impact on how well the game's being played, because when the game's terrible or bogged down, or so everyone blames the referees for that.
Yeah, they go, too many penalties called, or 2 stop-start. Yeah, no.
So we've got to take some credit for a small amount, but there is some credit that goes towards the refereeing department around how well the footy is at the moment.
Oh, for sure, 100%. Like, I would give you guys at least out of the 100, if you were to go out of 100% sort of scale, I'd give you guys at least 50, because the other 50% is on the players.
Yeah, yeah, and the players, and you've seen over the last couple of weeks, the players are getting better and more adapted to it. Obviously, they came back and, not being able to, especially not having a reserve grade competition at the moment, so players are coming cold and stuff, and it's taken them a couple of weeks to get back into the swing of it. And I think, they're back at it now. In saying that, though, I think with the 6 to go rule, the captain's challenge, if we still had 2 referees out in the field, I think the product would be better.
Okay. You're still a big fan of 2 referees? Okay.
I think decision making is a big part of it. I think we make better decisions because a lot of the times when the ball's, especially around the ball coming out and knock-ons and strips and stuff, when the ball's coming out, a lot of the times the person behind the ruck is the one who gets to see that.
I was going to say, so do you reckon if you were to have a 2-ref system, it would be on the secondary referee to call the 6 again?
No, it'd still be the same process, but the person behind the ruck would then be giving information about how the ball come out, which we did. Also around, the last couple of weeks has been a notable increase around crusher tackles and stuff like that.
I've saw a few of those in the last 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, and these are the little intricate parts of officiating that people sort of don't understand. A lot of the times, as soon as a player gets into a position where it's likely that there might be a possible crusher tackle, the pocket referee standing really close will then make some kind of decision to the player or give some information. And a lot of the times, watch his neck or be careful, and the player reacts to that and then allows,
and then then it doesn't end up in a crusher, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot of the work that the assist referee does or used to do was around being proactive. It was around talking to players behind the ruck, and and which then creates less penalties and stuff like that because you're educating players on what they're doing. So I think, I'd like to see 2 referees with the 6 to go and the captain challenge.
That would be
an opportunity to see how much better the game could be, or just give them an opportunity and see. Just see it. Yeah,
no, for sure. Worst you can do is trial it and say, okay, it doesn't work, put back to 1. Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. So time for some fun questions. What's your current beer of choice?
I don't have a beer that I sort of is my go-to.
Okay.
We always have a couple of beers in the fridge, but we'll generally. I like to try different beers and stuff.
Okay.
I think Firthy at the moment is something that I'm enjoying.
Okay.
Casey's on the pure blondes at the minute, so there's a case of pure blondes in the fridge.
Yep.
So that's her beer of choice at the minute. So that's what we're drinking. But yeah, I like to try different beers, and there's some that are ordinary, and then some that you really like. I don't mind Young Henrys as well.
Okay. Yep. I just got put onto Bolters or Bolter the other day. Yeah. It's really nice. Like I only tried it for the first time like last week, but I'm getting hints of it. Like it tastes like a cider, but without the fizziness of a cider.
Yeah, I might be wrong, but I think Mick Fanning has something to do with that company. I think might be
well, if he does, freaking thank you, Mick, for that taste. It's a good drop. It's a good drop. Yeah. How's first of all, what's it like? Obviously, being married to a referee, and how do you guys go when you referee together? Whether it's she's on the sideline or you referee, you guys refereed your first ever game together, and it was an international game. What was that like?
Yeah, we're in a really good situation where we get to do what we love and do it at the highest level together.
Yeah.
And get paid. And we get paid to do it. So. It's we're in a privileged position for that. We get Casey and I spend a lot of time together, and we enjoy that. So we get to work together, go to work together. We get to run around on NRL together. Yeah, our first international game was, funnily enough, was in Thailand.
Yeah.
So in Bangkok, we refereed Thailand versus the Philippines.
Yep.
And that was an experience. Firstly, being in Thailand and being involved in a rugby league game, which. I love the fact.
And low-key being on a holiday with your wife in Bangkok, Thailand, you could say. It was a paid holiday, you could say.
Yeah. Actually, we paid our own way to go and stuff.
Oh, so okay.
Quite helpful. Yeah, we paid for it all ourselves to go. We wanted to help try. I love seeing international rugby league and smaller nations compete.
I love it. There's an Africa team. A lot of people don't realize that Africa has an emerging team.
Yeah, there's quite a few. India, I think there's the Jungle Cats.
Yep, there's Brazil.
When we went to the States last year, we met up with some of the guys from the Brooklyn Kings.
Yep, Brooklyn Kings,
who won the US NRL last year. So I really, where possible, we'd love to assist and help in those emerging nations get involved. So yeah, to be able to do that was awesome. And yeah, just going to work every day and bouncing off each other and understand. The thing is, with what we do, there's a lot of stress on family, because not only media stress, there's also the stress of we don't find out on Tuesday to where we're going that weekend.
Yeah.
So Tuesday night, I'll get my email and I'll be going to New Zealand on Thursday.
Yeah, it's literally when, from what I've been told from Henry a few weeks ago, he goes, you guys find out when Teamless Tuesday is dropped, more or less.
Firstly, so during a year, if people are getting married during footy season, you can't accept invitations.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know where you're going to be that weekend. And I'm not going to say to someone, I might be there, and they cater for you and you're not there. So you know, birthday parties, you know, anniversaries, and all that stuff sort of gets thrown out the window during footy season. Most of the guys in our squad, guys and girls in our squad, their wedding anniversaries are in November, because that's our only opportunity to get, you know, to do it all.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things that family have to sacrifice for it, but having someone who's involved in it just makes it easy for me, because I don't.
It would be. It'd be a lot more streamlined for you, sort of thing.
Yeah, she understands exactly what I'm going through. If I come home and I'm flat because I've had a tough day at training, and you know I don't want to help around the house with chores, she understands, because the next day that might be her.
Exactly. Yeah.
We work together like that, and you know, if I've got to travel over the weekend and I come home, or especially now with this COVID stuff, where you know some nights we're getting home at 2:30 a.m. or some mornings from a Brisbane game, and then you know you've got things planned for the next day, but you get up in the morning and say, you know what, I'm really flat today, let's give that a miss. They understand.
Yeah.
So where I know some of the other guys don't have that same understanding from their partners. Well, yeah.
I mean, they've got the understanding, but just not to that extent, sort of thing.
Yeah. But yeah, and you know, I see it would be very difficult. You know, but I'm in a pretty privileged position in that one.
Honestly, it'd be a great position. And do you feel more pressure during a finals / Origin international game sort of thing than a regular first grade club game, or as a referee, or like is it more or less take every game as it comes?
Oh, you have to. You have to just take it, because I spoke to you earlier about you know, park football being a lot harder to referee than the NRL. The biggest difference is that in the NRL, though, you're under a lot more scrutiny. So every decision, you know, we make is overly scrutinised, which is just the nature of the beast, and that's what it has to be. You know, and if us, you know, as referees, we are people that can be, and if it happened to me, we can be on the front and back page of the paper. Doesn't happen not a lot of people can be on the front and back page. So if we have
again, like last year's with the grand final, that was front and back page. Yeah,
we're still talking about it now. You know what I mean? So you know that every decision you make is scrutinised, and that can be different depending on what game you've got as well. Because you might have a game on a Saturday night at 7:30 in New Zealand, which doesn't have a lot of media, Sydney, Brisbane-based media, and you can have a pretty poor decision in that game, which sort of goes under the radar a bit, and you don't sort of have too much backlash. But you can make exactly the same decision on a Sunday afternoon. You know, South Bulldogs out of ANZ Stadium, match of the round, and all of a sudden it's in the paper for a week.
Yeah.
So the scrutiny is on every decision you make, not what game it is or you know what level of game. Obviously, you know, grand finals, origins and stuff have a lot more scrutiny, so you get more, if that makes sense. But,
it does.
As people who want to, you know, the thing people got to realise as referees, we are rugby league lovers. We love the game. We wouldn't do it if we didn't. You wouldn't start refereeing if you love rugby league. You don't see. It's different to sports. It is a little bit different to sports where, you know, as a kid, I tried every sport. I played cricket, I played soccer, I played football.
But league was always first for you.
Well, yeah, but I just tried different sports because I wanted to see which one I'd be. Yeah, my love for rugby league was always there. As an official, you don't do that. You don't go, oh, I want to be an official. What sport do I want to officiate? You just go, I'm a rugby league. How do I stay involved? I referee rugby league.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's what happens. So so we always go out there trying to do the best for the game. You know, whatever's best for that game. And yet, you know what? Sometimes we make mistakes and we get hammered, and you know, people want to, you know, bag us for a week. But at the end of the day, we just want what's best for rugby league.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And honestly, I agree. And speaking of, what was it like running onto the field for your 350th NRL first grade level refereeing game?
Yeah, it's you get a lot of pride out of it, because to me, longevity is more important than anything. Because longevity means that you've done something right for a long period of time. And in the environment that we work in, it means that you're also respected by your peers and stuff.
For sure.
People want you around, because I'm not a referee who's refereed the biggest games. I haven't refereed grand finals. I haven't refereed state of origins. You know what I mean? So I'm not someone that is at the top of the game all the time. I'm your toilet. I'm your back rower that just does the dirty work.
Does the job. Yep.
And that's been my whole career. So to be able to do it for that long, and I think at 350, I think there's only 3 over 350 maybe.
I think, yeah.
I think it's Billy, Benny Cummins and myself maybe. To me, that says that people like to have me around.
Well, I personally, from a fan standpoint, love watching you referee every game. Yeah. Even if it's a teams that aren't playing, I will watch the game because you're the referee of the in the game.
Yeah, I enjoy every minute I have out there because I never, even though I've done quite a few of them and I can't remember every one of them, I've never taken any of them for granted. You know, because it's an honour and a privilege to go out there and referee the NRL level. You know, whether it be one game or whether it be 300. So I will never ever take them for granted. And like I say, players often talk about they want to be the player that players want to play with, and that's exactly been my attitude. I want to be the referee that when people, especially when it was 2 referees, that people see my name next to them and they're happy to see it there. They're not like, oh, I'm going to get this week. It's like, awesome, I've got Badge and I know what he's going to give me every week and I know how hard he works.
Yeah.
The teammate he is, and that's I think longevity has proven that for me.
For sure. I mean, I know a lot of fans of many different clubs that when they see your name listed as the referee for the game, they're like, fuck yes, we've got Gavin Badger, sort of thing, which I think is testament to yourself. And speaking of longevity, any thoughts of retirement anytime soon, or are you going to go for the 400 or something like that?
I don't care about numbers. I just care about, as long as I feel like I'm physically able to do it. And at the minute, I don't think I've ever been fitter. So physically, I'm fine, and mentally, I'm fine. I still love being around the squad. I always talk about what I do as a job is, it's just like being at school.
Yep.
So, you get given the schedule where you've got to be all week. So we get our roster for our training for the week, and then on the weekends I get to go and run around on the footy field, and it's exactly what my school life was like.
Yeah.
I never want to give that up. I'm just a big kid.
Yeah.
I'm the oldest in the squad, but maturity-wise, I'm probably the youngest.
Yep.
So yeah, as long as they'll have me, I don't think it'll get to a point where I retire. I think it'll get to a point where someone has to tell me that they don't want me around anymore. So,
yeah, you'll just keep going until they tell you to F off, sort of thing.
I love it that much. That I don't think that I could actually come out and say I'm done.
Yeah.
I think someone has to tell me that I'm of no value to the squad anymore.
No, that's fair. That's fair enough. And speaking of, the squad and all that sort of stuff, obviously with players, some have certain routines before a game. Do you have any certain must-have, do-it-this-way routines before a match? And if not, who does have the weirdest routine that you've seen?
I don't have anything. My routine is be there on time.
Yep. Yep.
Generally, I don't. Yeah, because like what we do is so different each week. Like one week I might be on a Thursday night in Sydney. The next week I might be on a Saturday night in New Zealand.
Yep.
So it's so fluid. You mean, you can't. So I try not to structure it because different things like during the season, there's different things. There might be kids sport in the morning that you have to go. Car might be playing up. Someone might be sick at home. So if you have to me, I know some people need it, but if I had a certain structure that had to happen every week, there's too many variables in it. Too many things can go wrong, and it can throw your whole, mindset.
Throw your whole game off, yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I'm pretty loose, so I generally don't even think about footy until
you're walking on the pitch, more or less.
Yeah, a lot of guys will spend a lot of the time through the week really focusing on it, and that's what they need to do to get them prepared for the weekend. I'm more of a less is more kind of guy than a more is more. Yeah, but routine. Some guys, I don't know. You've spoken about Henry before. Henry has some pretty weird ones, but
oh yeah, any that you can mention on the podcast or nah?
Not really. Some of the guys like to have a big energy drink before they go out and stuff like that, and psych themselves up. I won't name the referee, but some like to do some push-ups to try and build their arms up a little bit before they go out, and refuse to have the trainer take the oil off their legs because they want it to be glistening when they go out. There's a few guys like that. Yeah, some guys that would love to referee with their shirt off. But generally everyone's pretty laid back, and we like to have a bit of music in the room and beforehand, and just have a bit of a chat and have a laugh, and yeah, we try not to take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah, no,
What we
that's
do
it.
quite
On the
serious.
field is serious. Yeah, exactly. No, I get that. And finishing off with some more fun questions. What's your current favorite movie or show that either you're watching on Netflix or TV or just in general?
I've just found the love for Ballers. I sort of
Okay.
stopped watching it for a while.
Okay.
It's an NFL-based show,
Yep.
Rock in it and stuff, and the latest season, The Rock actually is the buys the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, so he's now the owner of the Kansas City Chiefs in it. So that sort of piqued my interest back in that. Um, I like watching. I love watching reruns of Seinfeld and
Okay.
Friends.
Oh, Friends is
Um,
great.
yeah, like no matter how many times you've seen an episode, you know continually laugh at it and stuff like that. So yeah, into that. I don't know about recent ones. We sort of jump around a fair bit, Case and I, with our Netflix shows and stuff. We sort of jump back into Suits. So we
Okay.
haven't watched the last 3 seasons of Suits, so we jump back into that. So we'll watch a couple of seasons of something and then jump on to something else. And
Yep.
we've got
Yep.
pretty short attention spans.
No, that's fair. That's fair. How do you like your steak cooked?
So, well, I used to be well done, always well done. Like, really, I
Oh.
couldn't eat it with any red on it. And Casey
Okay.
yells at me. She yells. She's
Yeah,
very much.
you're eating it wrong.
Exactly right. And that's what you're losing the flavors, using the flavors. But I've grown up where we never really had good steaks, so you had to burn them so they had any flavor.
That's fair.
But yeah, so I've recently started to go try and back it off a touch. So I'm going sort of medium well and seeing how well. And sometimes if I see a bit of red there, I've got to close my eyes so I can't see it.
Oh.
Like looking at the red part of it, but I'm getting better.
No, that's fair. That's fair. If you could have a superpower, what would it be and why?
I think I'd love to be invisible,
Yeah.
and more for the gossip side of things. I love gossip.
Be a fly on the wall sort of thing.
I'd love to hear so many different. I'd love to hear what people think of me, like honestly think of me. You know what I mean? Like it's very hard to. Everyone wants to be liked, but not everyone's going to like you. But you'd like to know reasons why
Yeah.
people think
Yep.
highly or lowly of you. I'd love to. Yeah, there's plenty of things I'd love to be able to be a fly on the wall for. I'd love to be able to sit in and listen to the reasons certain referees get picked and why, and I'd love to hear why coaches pick certain players. I'd love, I'd love to be invisible so I could just sit back and I love people watching, so I'd love to be able to hear what they're saying as well.
No, that's fair. That's honestly fair enough. Last bit of questions is: do you have any advice for any youngsters that would love to be an NRL referee one day?
Yeah, you got to listen. You just got to listen to people. There'll be a lot of the thing with and I do a bit of coaching with young referees, and the thing I always put across to them is we're in a subjective industry as a referee. You can have 4 people watch the exact same game of football and give you 4 different opinions of how the referee went.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just opinion based. It's subjective. There's no finish line. Like if you're a sprinter at the Olympics and you come first, no matter what you do, you are the gold medalist. In refereeing, you got to go out there, do something, and you could think, you could have 10 people think that was one of the best performances they've ever seen, but the one person who thinks it's terrible could be the coach who makes the decision, and because of styles, whatever, and that could be the difference between you getting a game and not getting a game. So what I say is you just listen to everybody, take everything in, don't take anything personally, and just prepare yourself and do the best you can do. My attitude is whatever I do, I just do it to the best of my ability, and then I've just got to hope someone else likes it. And if they don't, they don't. That's
Just as long as you're personally satisfied with your performance.
As long as I know that I've prepared as well as I can, I've done the best I can, and I've given it everything. You know what? I don't really care what people think. I care that they have an opinion on my career and where I get, but I can only judge myself, and I know that if I put in the effort, and this is what I say to young referees, you just got to make sure that you're doing everything you can be, so that if you don't get picked, it's based on someone's opinion, not something that you've done.
Yeah,
or haven't.
exactly. Honestly, and I agree. And speaking of, as I've mentioned a few times in this episode, speaking from a fan's point, you are definitely my favourite NRL referee at the current moment. Now go ahead.
You didn't say that to Henry as well?
Pardon? I didn't say
that
that.
to Henry as well?
No, I didn't. He's one of my favourites, but you are actually the favourite.
No,
So
that's right. No, Henry's a really good guy.
he is a
Yeah.
lovely guy. He is a lovely guy.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's all the topics I have. So thank you very much for joining us. And I'll send you the links when it's all done and uploaded. Should be probably by, what's today? Tuesday. Probably by Thursday.
No problem at all. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much, mate. And hopefully have a good rest of the season.
I'll do my best.
All good, mate. Thank you. Bye.